Give me your name and where do you live?
My name is George Pewelski. I'm 66 years old. I knew your father. I first met him at the Motor City Open in Detroit, Michigan in 1964. I was 19 years old and I was getting ready to play who I think and a lot of other people think was the best all-around player in the world at that time, Harold Wirtz. And your father was there, and we had a straight pull match, 125 points. It took just under 5 hours, and I lost 4 pounds during the match. That's how tough a match it was. Of course, the air conditioning broke down, and we were sweating profusely, to say the least. And then after that, I was introduced to your father, and he asked me, in his style, where do you live, young man? I was only 19 years old. And I said, Racine, Wisconsin. Well, he says, you have a world champion player or a world-class pool player from Racine. Do you know Al Miller? I said, yes. The first time I ever went on the road, I was 17 years old, and I went to Chicago to Bensinger's at Clark and DeBercy, and wound up going busted. I lost $400 to Al Miller, a guy from Racine, Wisconsin, where I live, a world-class player, and I didn't even know him.
That's funny.
So needless to say, it was a learning process, and it was shortly thereafter he took me on the road.
Yeah, tell me about that. You're talking about my dad took you on the road.
What's that?
You're talking about when my dad took you on the road.
Your father, after I met him at the Motor City Open in Detroit in 1964, he asked me, he said, if I call you, can you get away? You know, for a couple weeks or a month. And I said, sure, you know, not working, I just, you know, playing pool right now. So it was about a week later, he called me up and he flew me out to Washington, D.C. At that time, he was living in Alexandria, right across the river. So he picked me up at the airport and he took me to his home, and I met your mother. And I think, I don't know if you were born back then.
Oh yeah, I should have been born.
How old were you in 1964?
10.
You were 10 years old. Okay, well then I met you. I met if I remember right, your mother was from Arthur Murray Dance Studios. Was she a dance instructor?
Yeah, that's how they met.
Okay, he took dancing lessons and he met your mother, and the rest is history.
Right.
Well, and I wound up spending 6-7 weeks with your father. We went all around the East Coast to Philadelphia, New York, Boston, all around the area playing different players.
Who all did you play?
Oh, Jimmy Fusco, Pete Fusco in Philadelphia. There was another guy, I can't think of his name right now. Of course, it's been 40-some years ago, 43 years ago.
I think you're doing awesome.
Anyway, then we went to New York, and I mean, you just, everywhere you go on the East Coast, you have great players, and wound up playing Jack Calavita, Ray Martin, can't remember Alan Hopkins or not, Steve Mizarek, played all of them guys, and then a lot of other players that you just over the years you lose track of them, and like it's hard to recall them, but you can remember the big name players, you know, like Mizarek and Ray Martin, because they're world champions, you know, they come to mind real fast. There were a lot of other guys that you played that were very good players, top name players, but a lot of them didn't play in the tournaments and they didn't travel around a lot, so they didn't have that much exposure. Like Bridgeton, I remember a guy named Bridgeton Herbie from outside of Philadelphia, another one from Atlantic City, Herbie, whether, I don't know, they're very good players, but not known nationally.
Well, sometimes it's better not to be known in those days.
You had a lot of, I mean,
so you can take ambush.
You had one of the greatest players of all time from over there in Ohio, Don Willis. Christ, he wouldn't let nobody take his picture. He didn't play in the big tournaments and all that, but anybody that comes through Ohio, he busted them, and that was it. You know, very few people.
That was smart. That way he didn't spend all the money to get on the road.
But
got to keep his money.
You know, but your father was to me a very unique man. I learned a lot from him, and it was a hell of an experience. I was only 19 years old. And now all of a sudden, you know, I'm with him, you know, the famous Weenie Beenie and everything else. And then just being able to travel around and play all these great players, you know.
So how'd you end up doing for the trip?
We did all right. I mean, we made money,
good,
which is
the goal.
In my mind, that's your goal. I mean, I won matches and I lost matches. And I won more than I lost, so I think you have to consider it a good trip. And at that time, I was only 19 years old.
So you got quite an experience, a life experience out of that.
But I was with the right guy, you know, your dad, who's been around, you know, pool and gambling and everything else for a long time. So in that respect, I was fortunate. And I learned a lot. I had a good time, and we made money, and it helped my game. So, you know,
well, he knew how to make a match.
Yes, he did. And we just, I mean, we hit it off because, you know, he liked to play golf. I love to play golf. So we had a lot in common. You know, we were compatible, and you know, I really had a good time, and I just met him, you know, and I mean,
he's got somewhat of a magnetic personality, didn't he?
Well, your father reminded me a lot of my oldest brother, Bob. Very, you know, similar, and I learned a lot from my oldest brother, so. It was a good experience, and I remember the last time I seen him before he passed, and we talked about back then, and he said, boy, that was something, wasn't it? I said, yes, it was, and I said, I want to thank you again, you know, for that, you know, taking me under your wing and taking me and showing me and, you know, having a chance to learn what I learned on that. This 7 weeks that we were out there, and it was, I mean, a very worthwhile experience. It's just too bad that, you know, a little while later I got drafted into the Army. I didn't play pool for a couple of years. I landed in Vietnam New Year's Day 1967, spent 269 days over there. The happiest day of my life when I got on the plane to come back to the United States, you know, so...
So you miss playing in Johnson City then, having to go to Vietnam?
You know, this Derby City is very nice, but you can't duplicate Johnson City. You can't.
So did you go?
Sure.
Earlier than...
The first time I went was 1961, the second tournament then.
I
61 or 62. What's that?
61 was the first. So
then I went to 62, the second term. I was 17 years old. And I watched a lot of them play, and I says, you know, you know, if I keep going in a couple of 3 years, I could possibly be right there with them. You know, a lot of the guys. You know, then, you know, you put Lassiter and Harold Wurst and them guys, they're in another class. They're, you know, a few levels higher than the rest of them. I said, a lot of these guys, you know, like 80% of the players, I said, Grace, you know, in 2-3 years, I could be right there playing with them. And
so did you keep coming back?
yeah, but then in the meantime, I got married and started a family, and then everything changed. And my wife gave me an ultimatum to either, you know, she said, I would never stop you from playing pool, you know, because I know you love to play pool, but we can't continue. You'd have to, you know, we'd get a divorce, either that or you get a regular job. So I put the cue in the closet for 6 years, didn't play. Got a job in a loan company as a collection man. And I was a working stiff for 6 years. But there again, another worthwhile experience. And it was either that, it was either get a divorce and continue playing pool, or you quit playing pool, get a job, and be a family man. Well, I think I made the right choice, and I never regretted it my whole life. Because I have 2 lovely daughters at home and a wife that I've been married to for 46 years.
Oh, but you still play some.
Yeah, but now it's completely different because I have a lot of health problems. You just can't do the things that you used to do. And I play 3-cushion billiards more than, that's what I really enjoy playing, 3 cushions. Pool, I don't have the strength to break, you know, like a 9-ball or 10-ball, that strength that you need to have a good break. I just don't have the tip speed. In 3 cushions, you don't need that much power. So, and I enjoy playing 3 cushions. So, and not that I play that often, but I, you know, maybe 8-10 hours a month. But I teach. I give lessons on pool and billiards. So I get a little chance to. I'm still connected, you know, with the game. But as far as playing, them days are all over with.
So tell me about the Johnson City days, the couple you went to.
Well, like the first one I went to was 1962, and you're just in awe, you know, when I got first time I seen New York Fats or Minnesota Fats. You know, the first time I seen Wimpy Lassiter or Winter Lassiter. First time I seen Harold Wurst. All these great players, and watch them play. It's just, and then the conditions and the atmosphere, you can't duplicate what Johnson City had. You just can't. They had 2 tournament tables. And they had 5 action tables. And that was it.
That's funny.
You got to see all the tournament games and the action. You had the bar, the restaurant, the tournament room here in this building, and then the building behind it, you had the building, 5 action tables, and that's where everybody played. And that was it. Nice and cozy. And you didn't miss nothing. And you got a chance to see all the matches, because they played them on 2 tables. They didn't play them on 40, 50, 60 tables. And the biggest thing are the conditions. The best conditions, yeah, it's the best conditions by far that I've ever played pool in my life. Nobody's been close to the conditions that you had to play. And you ask anybody that played there, and they'll all tell you my game went up at least 5 to 10% when I got down to play, just because of the conditions, the lighting, everything else, the atmosphere. everything for the player. You know, how can we make it better for the player? Better conditions for the player. Had a lighting expert come in, do the lights. You didn't have a shadow on the. No shadows nowhere. Shadows on the balls, on the table, nothing. And you ask anybody that was there, they'll tell you their game went up. I was just talking to Freddie the Beard about it. He said my game went up 5–10% as soon as I went and played in the tournament tables, automatically. You know, so. And it was nice and cozy. All the tournaments were played on these two tables. And that was it. And if you wanted to see them, they're right there to watch. You didn't have to, watch, what table. They're on table 64, Then you have to walk 4 miles to watch them play, So nothing like that. Johnson City will never be duplicated. I told Joanne Jansko Tuesday night, what your father and her brother, her uncle, did was very unique. Nobody will ever repeat it. Can't do it. You just can't do it.
It's sad that the era is a bygone era now,
It is.
I really wish.
One that I'm very proud and happy to be a part of. Where now, and you notice, when we played, we all had a suit and a tie on, or a sport coat. There was a certain dress code that you will find it, and we didn't mind it at all. You don't have that today.
I know.
That's just
I love those pictures. Those pictures of everyone all dressed up in coats and ties and black, white shirts.
I mean, Grace, sometimes we even played in tuxedos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Dressed up the sport, for sure.
Well, certainly. Why not? You don't see that anymore.
Tell me a little bit about the action at Johnson City in the back room.
There's a lot of action. I mean, Minnesota Fats played for a lot of money.
Only good food.
Ronnie Allen. I mean, you had I was playing, this is 1968. I remember playing Danny Jones, who eventually won the 9-ball tournament that year, playing him a race to 15 for $1,500. This is back in 1968.
It's a lot of money.
$1,500 is a lot of money. By today's standards, it's not, but back then it was. And you had a lot of that going on. And a lot of money changed hands.
Were you there when they got busted?
No, I wasn't.
Did you hear about that? Yeah, of course.
I heard about it, and it's a shame that it happened, but it did, and you just have to move on from it. But the important thing is to learn from Johnson City. What Paul or George and Paul Jansko did and were trying to do, to carry that on. Nobody picked the ball up after that and carried it on. And the big thing with me is conditions. The better you make the conditions for these players, the better they're going to perform.
Right.
It's that simple. The better the conditions are, the better they're going to perform, and the better chance the better players have of winning. These are all the important things about it. And you want to do everything you can do to make it better for the better player to have the chance of winning, not putting handcuffs on it.
Right. Yes.
A lot of just make the conditions right. And it's not that hard to do because we play inside. You can control it. It's not like you're outside and you have to deal with the weather. Other when you're playing in hot conditions where the air conditioning and everything else comes into play. But make conditions right, where the table's clean, the balls are clean and polished. Big difference. People don't realize the difference when you're playing with nice, clean, highly polished balls on a clean cloth compared to dirty balls on a dirty cloth. And it's not that hard to do. It really isn't.
So do you remember any games with my dad that you can reflect on?
Your father, I really didn't get a chance to see him play that much. I really didn't. The time we spent together.
Did he play, or were you playing all the games?
Well, I was playing, most of the time. He did play because he liked to play, and when he had a chance to make a game and play, he played, But it was, when I seen him play, it was mainly one pocket, and which I didn't get a chance to see him play that much. I really didn't. And the time I spent with him, just it was more or less I was playing, and if the opportunity was there for him to play, he played. But he didn't have that much. He was more or less trying to match up, make games for me.
Right. You're being more the pupil there since you were only 19.
Yeah, I was 19 years old. I mean, this.
What a great experience.
I was a green kid,
I know. So let me just get it from you.